You think you understand it because you felt strong once in your life. You've won arguments, intimidated men, stood taller than the rest. Yet while you were busy proving your strength, someone weaker than you quietly built an empire. You laughed at him, underestimated him, ignored him, and now you work for him. That is the tragedy of the strong. They believe strength alone guarantees success. But the world is not ruled by strength. It is ruled by strategy, deceit, and perception. We live in an age where the lion is trapped in a cage built by the fox. The loud are silenced by those who whisper, and the powerful are outplayed by those who pretend to be powerless. You see it everywhere, in business, in politics, in daily life. The man you called timid now controls your paycheck. The one you dismissed as naive now moves armies of followers with a single post. You ask yourself, how did he do it? How did someone weaker, slower, or dumber become more powerful than me? The answer is brutal, but necessary to hear. He understood the rules you refused to learn. The truth, my friend, is that wealth and power no longer belong to the strongest. They belong to the most adaptable, the most deceptive, and the most disciplined. The modern battlefield is not the sword, it's the mind. The winner is not the one who fights the hardest, but the one who controls what others believe. And while the strong waste time showing their strength, the cunning invest time in learning how to use yours against you. So today I will tell you why people weaker than you keep getting rich, and why they always will. Not because they are better, not because they deserve it, but because they understand something you don't. The game of power rewards manipulation, not morality. It favors illusion over honesty, patience over pride, and calculation over courage. This is not fair, but it is real. And if you wish to survive in a world ruled by foxes, you must stop roaring like a lion and start thinking like one. Power has never belonged to the strongest. It belongs to those who understand how strength is perceived. The world is not fair, and it never will be. You can be braver, wiser, and more skilled than others, yet still find yourself watching weaker men rise above you. Why? Because they do not waste their energy proving they are strong. They use it to convince others they are valuable. Real power lies not in what you can do, but in what others believe you can do. The mistake of most powerful men is assuming that ability alone commands respect. It does not. Perception does. The clever man builds an image, a story, a mask that others willingly worship. The weaker man studies those above him. He watches how pride blinds them, how confidence makes them predictable. Then he strikes, not through confrontation, but through influence. He does not fight lions. He feeds them what they want to hear. He flatters their pride, hides his intentions, and positions himself where decisions are made. He does not need to be feared or respected. He only needs to be trusted. Once he earns that trust, he no longer needs strength. He has access. He can whisper in the right ear and bend the strong without them realizing it. People think influence comes from dominance, but influence comes from access. The weak man knows that controlling perception gives him both. He shapes how others see him, and through that, shapes how they act toward him. The strong man acts. The cunning man directs. It is the difference between the warrior who fights the battle and the strategist who decides which battles will be fought. One bleeds for power. The other commands it without lifting a hand. The clever understand timing. They know when to appear, when to disappear, when to stay silent, and when to strike. The strong act too quickly. They reveal themselves. The patient appear weak, but they are gathering information. Every word, every reaction, every emotion becomes a weapon. They wait until the moment others are off guard. Then they step forward as if it were fate. The strong believe victory is taken by force. The cunning know it is taken by opportunity. To the eye of the world, these weaker men seem lucky. But luck is the child of preparation. They have spent years building masks, relationships, and narratives. They understand that people are slaves to appearances. If they appear intelligent, others assume they are. If they appear valuable, others invest in them. Power is perception. Control it, and you control reality. The mistake of the strong is wanting to be understood. They crave recognition for their true worth. But the wise do not seek to be understood. They seek to be obeyed. and obedience is born not from truth, but from illusion. The powerful often lose because they underestimate the invisible. They do not see the quiet manipulator shaping their reputation, shifting alliances, guiding public opinion. They believe enemies are those who challenge them openly, but the true threat is the one who smiles in agreement, who flatters their ego while planting seeds of dependency. By the time the strong realize what has happened, they are already surrounded by those who appear loyal but serve another master. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Strategy always defeats strength. A fox survives where a lion dies. The fox does not fight harder, it fights smarter. It hides its claws behind a calm expression. The weak become rich because they master this art. They understand that power does not require force. It requires control over perception, timing, and access. While others chase dominance, they quietly build influence. And influence, once achieved, makes strength unnecessary. The weaker man is never truly weak. His power lies in the shadows, in his ability to make others underestimate him. When you think someone poses no threat, you drop your guard, and that is when he strikes. The appearance of weakness is a weapon sharper than any blade because it disarms pride. The strong believe that power must always be shown, that fear must be visible, and that dominance must be felt. But the one who truly understands power knows that fear, when used subtly, controls people more effectively than intimidation ever could. The weaker man plays the game of fear differently. He doesn't roar, he whispers. He doesn't challenge, he waits. And by the time the strong realize they are being outplayed, the weaker man has already taken control of the board. Machiavelli taught that men are driven more by fear than by gratitude. The clever understand this and know how to let others fear losing their favor or approval without ever appearing dangerous. They wrap manipulation in humility and make obedience look voluntary. The strong use threats, the cunning use anticipation. They allow others to believe they are safe, then quietly shape their behavior through silence, through uncertainty, through the fear of displeasing them. This is not open tyranny. It is psychological mastery. The weak man who understands this becomes more terrifying than the strongest soldier because his influence cannot be resisted, only sensed. Those who seem harmless have an advantage the strong never do. Invisibility. The lion is feared, but also watched. Every move he makes attracts attention. Every mistake becomes a weakness others can exploit. The fox, on the other hand, moves unseen. He observes the lion's habits, learns his arrogance, and waits for the right moment to bite. The strong mistake visibility for control, but visibility is exposure. To be seen as powerful is to invite attack. The clever avoid this by disguising ambition behind humility, letting others feel superior while quietly controlling outcomes. Fear is most effective when people do not realize it is being used against them. The weaker man may act loyal, agreeable, even submissive, but he understands exactly how to make others depend on his presence. He provides comfort when needed, then withdraws it without explanation. He builds trust, then creates the subtle anxiety of losing it. Those around him will obey not because they are forced, but because they fear losing his approval or the stability he brings. This is how fear becomes invisible. It hides beneath gratitude, respect, and emotional need. The strong rule through force and reputation, but force fades and reputation dies with one mistake. The cunning build their power on psychology, which cannot be seen or destroyed easily. They are never the loudest in the room, yet they command the tone of every conversation. Their enemies destroy themselves through arrogance, while they rise quietly, untouched. The world calls them weak because it cannot see the strings they pull. But they do not need to roar to rule. They only need to know when to let others roar for them. Emotion is the greatest enemy of power. It blinds reason, weakens judgment, and exposes intentions. The man who cannot control his emotions cannot control anything else. Most people fail not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they are prisoners of their feelings. They react too quickly, defend their pride, and confuse emotion with strength. The weaker ones, the ones often dismissed as calm or indifferent, understand the truth Machiavelli taught, that power belongs to those who can stay cold when others burn. They master the art of appearing unaffected. They let others lose control while they quietly collect advantage from the chaos. Anger, pride, and desire are tools to be used, not states to live in. The strong believe expressing emotion shows confidence, but it only reveals vulnerability. The clever man uses emotion strategically. He pretends to care, to fear, to admire, but none of it touches his core. Every reaction he shows is calculated to produce a result. While others argue, he listens. While others take revenge, he plans. The difference between the powerful and the powerless is not who feels more. It is who can hide it better. Control is not about the absence of feeling. It is about knowing when to display it for effect and when to suppress it completely. The weaker man who becomes rich has learned that patience always defeats passion. He understands that every insult, every loss, every humiliation can be turned into leverage if endured with discipline. He does not waste time defending his ego, because he knows ego has no value in strategy. When others rush to prove themselves right, he watches quietly, learning their weaknesses. When the strong lash out, they reveal their fears. When the calm remains still, they remain unreadable. The one who controls his expression controls the direction of every conversation. The one who stays composed controls the outcome of every negotiation. Machiavelli would say that a ruler must know how to act like both a man and a beast, but the most dangerous are those who can disguise one as the other. Emotional control allows this disguise. The man who can smile while being betrayed, who can praise those he intends to defeat, who can show warmth while planning conquest. That man cannot be defeated by force. His silence becomes his sword. His calm becomes his armor. Emotion destroys focus. It makes people chase recognition instead of results. The world belongs to those who can delay gratification, who can bear discomfort without revealing it. The weaker rise because they turn control into currency. Their calm makes others trust them. Their patience makes others depend on them. And in a world ruled by perception, appearing composed is often more valuable than being powerful. The strong lose because they fight battles of pride. The wise win because they fight only the battles that matter. And they fight them without ever raising their voice. Reality has never ruled the world. Illusion has. Men are guided not by truth, but by what they believe to be true. The successful understand this, and they shape their surroundings accordingly. Those who seem weaker rise because they learn early that people do not reward authenticity. They reward the appearance of greatness. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must seem virtuous, even if he is not, because people judge by what they see, not by what is. The clever poor man becomes rich because he plays this game better than the strong man who insists on honesty. He dresses like power, speaks like authority, and behaves like someone destined to succeed until the world begins to treat him as such. Illusion becomes his armor, and belief becomes his weapon. The strong man, by contrast, often clings to sincerity. He refuses to pretend, believing that truth will eventually prove itself. But the world is not built to recognize truth. It is built to follow confidence. Those who project certainty, even falsely, attract followers, investors, and allies. People want to believe, and the clever give them something to believe in. They understand that the illusion of value creates real value. If they appear successful, doors open. If they appear wise, others listen. Power is not found in being real, but in being convincing. The weaker man knows how to perform. He studies the gestures, the tone, the rhythm of influence. He learns how to make his words sound like authority and his silence sound like depth. He knows when to appear humble and when to appear unshakable. His goal is not to be genuine. It is to be effective. He shapes how others see him, and through that, he shapes his destiny. The world calls him fake, but he calls it survival. The strong waste years demanding to be understood, while the cunning spend those years becoming exactly what others want to see. Illusion does not mean deception alone. It means control of perception. Every leader, every wealthy man, every ruler of men has used it. The crown does not make the king. The belief in the crown does. The rich man without a reputation is invisible, but the poor man with a reputation for brilliance will be invited to power. The world obeys symbols, not substance. Those who understand this can build empires out of thin air. The weak who rise have mastered this theater. They live in a world where truth is optional and perception is law. They do not need to be the strongest, smartest, or most talented. They only need to make others feel that they are. And once people believe, reality bends in their favor. Machiavelli's brutal truth remains unchanged. Men will always prefer the comforting illusion over the harsh reality. The wise do not resist this, they use it. The strong cling to truth and fade, but the cunning create illusions that outlive them all. No man becomes powerful alone. Strength without alliances is like a sword without a hand to wield it, sharp but useless. The world belongs to those who understand the art of connection. The weaker men you see rising are not necessarily stronger or smarter. They simply know how to build networks that multiply their influence. They invest in relationships the way others invest in gold. They understand that one favor, one loyal ally, one strategic friendship can achieve more than years of solitary effort. Machiavelli knew that even the most feared rulers stayed in power only because they maintained alliances with those who could destroy them. The clever learn this truth early. Power is a web, not a throne. The strong often fail because they believe independence is strength. They refuse help, despise flattery, and trust only their own abilities. But isolation is a weakness disguised as pride. Those who seem weaker are rarely alone. They surround themselves with people who can open doors they cannot. They know that to move upward, one must be connected to those already above. They do not seek superiority, they seek proximity. They listen more than they speak, offer favors before asking for them, and make others feel important. Through this, they create invisible debts that will one day be repaid with loyalty or opportunity. The clever man uses relationships as a form of currency. He gives when it costs little and gains when it matters most. He understands the psychology of reciprocity, that people are slaves to gratitude and obligation. By helping others rise, he creates a ladder he can later climb. The strong, obsessed with control, ignore this. They would rather rule alone than share power. But no empire, no fortune, no legacy has ever been built by one man's hand. Power is distributed among those who understand influence, and influence is earned through connection. Even deceit is more effective when surrounded by allies. A single man's lie is fragile, but a lie repeated by many becomes truth. The weaker man knows how to align himself with the powerful, not to challenge them, but to become indispensable to them. He makes himself useful, the one everyone turns to, the one no one wishes to offend. In time, usefulness becomes power. People protect what benefits them, and the clever man ensures that he is always beneficial to someone important. Machiavelli's wisdom was clear. Rulers fall not when they lose strength, but when they lose support. The same is true in life. The rich are not always the most capable, but they are the most connected. The weak who rise do so because they understand human nature. That loyalty can be bought, influence can be nurtured, and favors are the currency of the powerful. Those who call them lucky misunderstand them. Their luck was carefully constructed through years of strategic generosity. The strong fight alone and fall. The wise build alliances and never have to fight at all. The strongest man often believes the world will bow to his will simply because he commands it to. He trusts in his strength, his reputation, and his past victories. Yet history is filled with powerful men who fell not from weakness but from rigidity. The world changes constantly, and those who cannot change with it are quietly replaced by those who can. The weaker men who rise understand this law. They adapt to every shift, every new rule, every changing tide. They survive because they know that power is not permanent. It must be adjusted, reshaped, and renewed with every generation. Machiavelli warned that the man who cannot bend will eventually break, for power belongs not to the unyielding, but to the adaptable. The strong often cling to their ways, mistaking consistency for strength. They think that changing their methods means betraying their principles. But principles do not feed empires. Adaptability does. The fox survives where the lion starves because the fox knows how to disappear when hunted and strike when the hunter grows careless. The weak who become rich have learned this secret. They change their language, their strategy, their alliances whenever the situation demands it. They are not attached to one version of themselves. They become whatever the moment requires, and that flexibility gives them an invisible advantage over those who refuse to evolve. Adaptation is not surrender. It is survival disguised as transformation. The weaker man studies the environment, senses the winds of change, and moves before others even notice the storm coming. The strong stay proud in their habits, confident that what worked once will always work again. But time is the most ruthless enemy of power. Those who cannot evolve are devoured by it. The cunning use time as an ally. They do not resist change. They ride it, shaping it to serve their ambitions. When new systems appear, they learn them faster. When old rules die, they write new ones. The world rewards those who adjust quickly because they are the first to fit the future. Adaptability also requires humility, the ability to admit that one's old ways may no longer work. The strong resist this. They confuse pride with identity. The wise know that power demands transformation. They do not let ego chain them to outdated methods. They can be gentle or fierce, visible or invisible, honest or deceitful, whatever ensures survival. The strong want to rule the world as it was. The adaptable learn to rule the world as it is. Machiavelli's truth remains merciless. It is not dominance that sustains power, but flexibility. The world does not honor the loudest or the bravest. It honors those who read it best. The weak rise because they listen where others shout, they bend where others break, and they evolve while others remain proud of their decay. In the game of power, survival always belongs to the shapeshifter, not the statue. Power has never been about fairness. It has never belonged to those who deserve it, but to those who understand how to take it and keep it. The weak rise because they have learned what the strong ignore, that strength without strategy is noise, that pride without patience is poison, and that emotion without control is suicide. They do not waste their lives proving their worth. They quietly shape the world to reflect it. While the strong stand still, proud of their unbending will, the clever move beneath them, building influence one illusion, one alliance, one silent adjustment at a time. The truth Machiavelli tried to teach centuries ago remains the same today. Men rule not through power itself, but through the perception of it. Those who master appearance command belief, and those who command belief command everything else. The weak become rich because they understand that power does not reward honesty, morality, or even intelligence. It rewards calculation. The world is not ruled by the strongest body, but by the calmest mind. So look closely at those you once called weaker. They learned to act humble when needed, to adapt when threatened, to hide their ambition behind smiles and silence. They built their kingdoms while others chased applause. And when the strong finally realized what was happening, it was too late. The crown had already been claimed by someone who never fought for it directly. Power today is not taken by force. It is taken by understanding. The man who sees the game clearly, who can play both the lion and the fox, who can bend without breaking, that man will always win. And if you wish to rise in a world that rewards deception more than devotion, then remember Machiavelli's most brutal truth. It is better to control the illusion of power than to possess power without control.